So I'll let them do a little introduction, but we have Desiree Johnson, Zach Simon, and Eric Stevens, and give us like 30-second. Who is Desiree Johnson?
Oh God.
30 seconds.
Anyway, I work at Big Nerd Ranch as a UX UI designer. I've been there for 5.5 years. I went to school at UL Lafayette. Yep. And I make dollhouse furniture on the side.
You'll learn more about that later. That actually has a lot of weird overlaps, weird and wonderful overlaps. All right, Zach.
I am Zach Simon. I'm also from Big Nerd Ranch, also the same title as Des, and the same work history.
Hey.
Exactly.
He took my old jobs.
Yeah, and I was in school and I did also.
If you haven't figured that out, these are two of my former students.
Yeah.
So Desiree's my second formal batch, and then Zach was my third formal batch, and I've started losing count of how many batches of students I've gone through.
It's been
Have you told them
decades.
about the proofreading
No.
story?
We can allude to that. It's part of who you are and part of why I continue to talk to you because you're typically right. Eric.
I'm gonna read my profile.
Oh.
Way easier than answering that question cold.
I know you're.
I worked really hard on this. Is eccentric?
You're eccentric, yes.
Eccentric.
Yeah.
I have to own it because I can get into crazy town. Designer, craftsman's a stretch.
Mm-hmm.
I do art and I love community.
Mhm.
Community is like super important to me. Lots of community in my life because you don't get successful by yourself. You only get successful by working with other people who are more successful than you sometimes. Maker of things, I make stuff. I work under the surname Stavin. Stavin's my last name. Stevens is my last name.
Mm.
Stavin, Norway is where my family came from.
Mm.
And that means, oddly enough, to place, to stand, and to establish, which has a massive overlap in my life.
Mm.
So I kind of just own that as like, this what I am.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I like it. So I've got some batch questions. Part of the difficulty is I've got backstory, so we're not trying to do like a inside joke here, but I'm trying to give them a prompt to give advice and share their perspective. So we'll start with Eric. Many people, the classmates you talked to this morning, know about your job acquisition process, working at Apple as your first job. What is some advice you would give to young designers who are obtaining their first job, and how do you communicate your value as a designer?
Okay. You're trying to key me up on that. And I don't know what I said before.
It doesn't matter because whatever you're
Doesn't
going to
matter.
say. is probably
Ask the
nonsense.
question one more time.
So the bullet points are: what advice would you give to young designers as they enter the workforce?
Yeah.
And that one slants very easily into how do you communicate your value as a designer?
Okay. So entering the workforce, it's difficult because you are the underdog, you are young, you are, seen for, when I entered the workforce, I was called, you're young, you're too young, you're too whatever, this, that. Look at your phone too much, you're a millennial, you're a hipster, you're you get labeled, right? I don't like labels personally, but that's more me. Some people can deal with that differently. But when you enter the workforce, don't let those labels stick. Just do your work, focus, and become a contributor. If you're a contributor and you're hustling a little bit, not like you can hustle. You've been hustling, okay? Like you go to Auburn, you've been hustling. If you've been staying up all night doing stuff, but there is a level of hustle that you have to bring to the table to be able to gain trust to do other things. If you don't hustle, and you don't gain that trust, you're not going to get asked to do the cool projects. You're not going to get asked to do anything because they'll just say, oh, you do this one thing that I tell you to do, so I'm not going to trust you with other things. So as you prove yourself to be, and I don't like saying prove yourself, I don't like saying, you got to put in the time, you got to pay the dues and all that crap.
You're good.
You're either going to show up or you're not. If you show up and you show what you're worth and you push yourself, you're going to have a crazy fun time. And if you're honest with yourself, you're going to have a crazy fun time. You will have labels, you'll have obstacles in various things that you have to overcome, and you'll get there.
Zach, this next one is for you. You and I had multiple talks about struggling to exist between product design, UX design, so the digital and the physical as they go back and forth. Where do you see design going? Not just like labels, but good design. Do you see a larger emphasis being made on visual design, screens as we go forward? Or will screens start to fade into the background and other types of interactions come forth?
That's interesting. I think that design as a career choice is fundamentally about solving problems for people. Like that's always going to be the case, no matter visual design or UX or whatever. I think what is going to be more interesting to see is how designers get more holistic roles in companies, where we see more people become like product designers or service designers, and the people that are essentially kind of guiding what the thing should become, because they kind of have the most insight into all the different parts. So I think I'm more interested in how it grows in that way, where we get a little bit more buy-in in companies, and we can kind of grow our service to be more open.
So instead of like designing the thing, you design the business and you infiltrate it from the top down. That way everything is
everything is
saturated.
Design thinking.
Yeah. Nice. All right, Des. So you were one of the first students that I ever knew to really embrace the results-only work environment. So for you, sometimes you like working in the office. I'd say rare. Sometimes you like working from home. But to do that, it takes a level of discipline. So where did you learn that discipline? Where did that come from? And then I'll ask the second question after that.
It came from marching band.
Wow.
Yep. So marching band, well, when I was very young, I was really terrible at the recorder, really terrible. And in the 5th grade, I said, I'm gonna be the best clarinet player I'm gonna ever be. And from then on, I practiced 2 hours a day. I like made sure every step I was getting better and better and better. By the end of it, I was like in All-State. I was in every honor band. I was first chair. I was doing all this stuff. So that work ethic in marching band, and like, don't be late. If you're late, don't come. Like that was like if you showed up late, they would send you home. So that hard discipline of like instilled in me in high school, like I'm not gonna be late. I'm gonna do good work. I'm gonna be the best, and just it's never stopped.
If we'll say if a student was going to say, I liked my work environment, I like being able to control more of my professional, personal lifetime, what advice would you give to them?
I'm very structured in my life, so I have a schedule for everything. I'm very like, I have my habits, like every morning. On the weekends, so I do dollhouse stuff on the weekends. I wake up at 9 in the morning, I go get breakfast, I go to the dollhouse shop, I come home and I work. Like every weekend I do that.
By dollhouse stuff, she has a massive YouTube following. Like, if you don't know,
It's not just like you think of a dollhouse you play with your little. So we did this when I had summer portfolio. I would throw it up and be like, what's I would throw it on the screen, what is that working on? She looked like she's renovating her bathroom. And then I showed them the zoomed out, like, that's not a real house.
Yeah. It's intense.
It is really mind-boggling.
So I do that on the side. And just by watching like the work that I do, you can see how like ridiculous I get with details and like in order to be like that, I have to be very structured. So my work-life balance is structured, like very structured. Like, no, work ends at 5 o'clock. If I'm still here at 6, there's a problem. I'm either not working efficiently, I'm overcommitting, I'm doing all these things. So my schedule keeps me like in balance, in check. It's not for everybody.
Right.
don't have kids.
I want you to make me a
Hey.
schedule.
I don't plan on it, so.
They really mess up your schedule.
They do.
I'd have to schedule kids.
We've extended that to cats and dogs and animals and humans, and
Yeah.
we'll save it for another time. All right, Eric, second question for you. Some people would call you a calculated risk taker. When you left GE, you turned down jobs from Google to start your own startup while supporting a family in one of the most expensive real estate places possibly in the world.
Yeah.
Why did you take that risk?
And I have 2 children that are young.
Why did you take that risk, and why would you encourage students to take risks opposed to playing it safe?
my personality type's a dreamer. I generally, like personality-wise, I want to be known. The problem is that if you go about that by yourself, it doesn't work. And I've kind of reversed some of my thinking on that. And my goal is to lead a crazy life that I can find and bring people along that want to do the same thing, right? So that's my goal. My values are complicated, but they are basically, you know, folks that are the underdog and or seeking something that is beyond what they're capable of in the moment are very much worth investing in. Businesses don't do that. Some do, they're rare. Some bosses do, they're even more rare. And white collar middle management, just, you know, that's a place where the soul could die really quickly. I mean, I threw all my retirement into this, which isn't a lot, but it's a lot to me. And if it fails, then I'll learn a lot. And if it succeeds, then it's gonna be, I mean, if it fails, it's gonna be a great story.
Yes, the storytelling aspect.
It's gonna be fantastic.
Either way, I think you have stories.
I failed at stuff though. Like, I had a shop in once and it didn't work out, and I closed it and sat and cried in it. Like, I did that, you know, and just check that box. I'm not gonna, like, now I've got another shop, so I'm like, okay, if I have to close it, I'll close it. Like, I know what this feels like. I know what risk I'm taking. Yeah, I can sit on a Google bus for 4 hours a day in traffic and do half my job in a bus, and then work at a place that has a known problem that they don't have enough bathrooms to deal with how many people are there. And it's basically like college campus again, because they treat it like a college campus. It attracts safety for people who come out of college. Not to knock Google. Google is a great place to work if you want to make money. It's great. I have a friend who's 25. He's probably about $140,000 a year at Google. You know, it's great.
Yeah.
It doesn't get you far in San Francisco. Still not. You still have a housing problem. But like, there's things like if you want to lead a crazy life, if you want something worth talking about and something that drives you, you just have to go do it. You can't just think, you know, hold it inside, think about it in your head, and do nothing. Just, you know, that's why.
I don't want to say YOLO, but you do just have more opportunity to do this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it, but we're gonna think it. All right. So Zach, we were walking back from lunch, and while I'm pretty good at computer stuff, and I definitely see the value of apps. I love how I can get an updated product, opposed to when my car is bought in 1997, it stays perpetually in 1997. So there's this huge advantage to having an updated experience. So I love when visual things can become physical. So you're bouncing back and forth realities. Why do you love Pokemon Go? And how can we see more of those things happen?
I don't like Pokemon Go.
Stop. You just like straight up Pokemon.
I just like Pokemon, traditional Pokemon.
Okay, so why aren't you attracted to the Pokemon Go
The Go
system?
It's just free. I like to spend money on things. That is my actual answer.
I like it.
I like the tactile feel of a console.
Yeah.
Yeah, buttons, thumbsticks. Are you gonna ask me a real question?
No, this is totally a real question. I thought we could actually spin off the Pokemon Go thing. But let's talk about consoles a little bit, because I'm seeing, like, my daughters included, they have been exposed to technology their entire life.
Yeah.
They really don't know what a console is.
Yes.
Will that change, or will it become like people that are our age just need the console to be in the console?
I think that's the case. Cause like the Switch, Nintendo Switch, everybody of a certain generation is playing it. They're not really kids. So it's like people like me, basically.
Is it a sustainable market then? I mean, it seems like a generation of gamers have started, and they're gonna perpetually play games.
It's just like the eBay market. We're gonna eventually die.
Yeah.
And then what?
There's a statistic that you're missing. eBay's average user is 57 or 56 years old. That's
Right.
the average. So the problem space
Well,
for
like
them
my
is,
generation.
well, their problem is their user base is dying.
Right.
Literally.
The same problem.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Dying in the street.
Des, you alluded to previously the proofreading thing. One thing I've really admired about you, even though it was tough at the beginning, was you have zero limit for BS. And as a Southerner, I'm used to like people bless your heart and sugarcoating
That's all
things.
right. I'm like, no, that's wrong.
What are the difficulties and advantages of just like, hey, listen, I'm gonna shoot straight all the time?
So I'm gonna take it the wrong way, of course. So when I've learned to smile. I know it sounds like very like patriarchy, but honestly, you can say the meanest things with a smile, and people are like, okay, I see where you're coming from. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
But if you're just like, no, you're wrong, and you keep a straight face, people are like, well, and they get defensive. But if you smile at them, as if you're their friend, they're like, okay.
Just like that.
And that's literally what I started doing, and it's gone a lot smoother.
Yeah.
But you do, like in the workplace, you're gonna have to be conscious of like, this person has been at this company for 10 years. I've been here for 5.5 years. So when I tell them something they're doing could be better or more efficient, they might take it as, oh, you're attacking how I've been doing things for 10 years. So some people don't have that mindset of, I always want to get better. For me, I always want to be more efficient. I want to do more things in less time. Like that's what I'm always striving for. So people tell me, oh, you know, you could have done this different and it would have been faster. I'm like, oh, great. Like, I'm going to do it next time. Not everyone's like that. So when you shoot straight all the time and someone has that like stubbornness, you just have to be prepared to be like, that's not where I was coming from. What made you feel that way? Like, flip it back on.
Yeah.
So I started doing that too. And that helps. Sometimes you just got to know when someone is having a bad day. And you just don't do it.
Once upon a time, I put out a project brief for my class.
It was a syllabus.
It was a syllabus. It was a bit more substantial, and like I didn't read it twice, and I write a lot the way that I talk, which is just filled with mistakes, and
It's hip hop.
it is hip hop, and I'm good with that. It just doesn't work in an academic setting when people need to know exactly what you're saying. It's not as thorough. So Des said, "Are you serious?" And she handed my paper back to me with like all the errors. I was like,
I proofread it.
"I'm sorry,
Give it back to
I'll
me.
go fix it." So I want more students like that. Not disrespectful, just why not? Why can't it be an encouraging environment to challenge current assumptions and the way things are being done? It's dangerous. I can be like, Des, never do that again.
I'd be like, okay.
I would have lost a student that day.
Next year, the next thing you send out, I proofread it again.
Every once in a while, we'll like have a laugh about your emails. Just every once in a while.
They are what they
Sorry.
are. That's all good. Yeah,
I'm not emailing you.
Yeah, we'll tear you apart.
I'm gonna call you from now on. All right, so I have one question for all three of you. You're all in hiring. So when you're looking to hire a new employee, what do you look for? Eric will go first, and then we'll go down the line.
Okay. Depending on what the position is, I'm looking for experience, obviously, in that position, or what my needs are for the position is. It's a small company. I have 2 people that work with me, and a couple people that are partners that are on the peripheral. If I have a need, I'm looking for skills in that skill set. That's not always there. So I'm more looking for the aptitude to problem solve, the aptitude to be wrong and learn from it, the aptitude to just show up and just try. You know, like worst case, let's try. Those are the critical factors. If you're willing to learn, then we can go. If you have like, this is how I operate, this is how I'm gonna do, like this, if you have that, like, if you have standards that are, your personality standards are locking you off from learning, and it's just not going to go well.
Right.
You know, like, so we'll put something out there. I pay hourly because I have to, because it's labor, for the state of California. And you have strict labor laws, you have overtime, specific things. And I'm not trying to manipulate my employees by being like, well, you know, if you hit 8 hours, you know, I'm not worried about that. What I'm looking for is when somebody is harping on, you know, I built that. You know, I built that, you know, or, you know, I need to make sure that you see that I have overtime. I need. And it becomes this thing where it's like, look, like, okay, but you're showing up for a paycheck. Where my attitude is, if you want to show up for a paycheck, you can show up for a paycheck. That's fine. I'll pay you. If you want to, like, this can be your life, in the way that you can do this, you can level up, you can do harder things, you can do greater things, and I'm going to give that to you. I don't want to run my business forever. I'm going to hand it off. I'm going to hand it off to people who are going to run it, because I have other things to start, right? I have more stuff. I'm always going to have more stuff. And that's what I'm looking for in people who want to work with me. Because you can get a paycheck. That's boring. Like, and I just want the attitude that, you know.
I would dare say you believe in work, hard work. Catchphrase. Work, I believe in work, hard work.
Yeah.
It's catchy. We should use it.
Yeah. Like a sticker.
You need a sticker. I'll get on that. All right, Zach, same question. What do you look for in a hire?
Yeah. So usually I'm looking for more junior people, for internships specifically. Because of that, I can't really expect a lot of work. It's usually more schoolwork. But what's interesting about schoolwork is there are the people that do the schoolwork and they work hard and they want it to be a certain way and they're very proud of it. And then there's the people who have already learned to stop self-identifying with their work and they are working for a specific greater good. And it's usually involved with the user or it's an improvement to a process or something like that. And you can tell in interviewing the difference because in option A, you get a lot of, I did this to learn this, and then I did this to learn this, and then I did this to learn this, and then I made this. Instead of, I did this and it was terrible, and I learned that this assumption that I had was bad, and so I started over, and then I scrapped the whole project, and I thought about quitting school. And then I went back into it, and I did this other piece of research, and that was also very bad. And so I just went and sat with a group of these people for a day and just kind of shadowed them to see what their actual problems are. And then I made a prototype, and it was very bad. And we learned that it was a failure. And this is how I plan to improve it in the future.
Honesty.
Yeah.
Honesty in the process.
Or they'll be like, I have to abandon this and cut my ties with it. And I'm like, good for you, stop kicking this can, because it's bad. Why are we talking about it? But that's, yeah. There's like these two different people, these two different kids that usually I'm talking to. And I'm almost always gonna go for the one that wants to solve the problem on their own. And wants to figure out how to do it because I respect autonomy. And also, because of all the errors and the mistakes that they actually notice, I don't have to watch them, and I can trust that they're going to be thoughtful enough to try to fix things or make them better over time. So that's the first. I don't even really, like, I think the other thing I'm looking for is kind of, like, they have a visual eye, like they can spot good visual design, because sometimes it's hard to teach that, but everything else can be learned in a job. You should be able to apply and just learn everything.
Dave?
So Zach has my old role in the internship program. I now I'm like more of a management role for the internship program, but when I was doing hiring for the internship, I got a lot of arrogant people, and And so I'm very like hypersensitive to personalities. And people who have an ego are really arrogant or have no desire to learn, think they're the best, and that's it, end of story. That really bothers me. That means that you're not gonna work really well on a team. And all of our projects are team-based. You're never gonna be alone on a project. So if you have some like nasty attitude or you're bashing your teammates that you worked on a project, that's a problem. Because then I'm like, are you gonna bash me? Are you gonna not stand up for this company? Because sometimes we do things that aren't super amazing. And we have to work as a team to give the solution for the client. Say like, hey, this server stopped working. And that's a problem, obviously. But here's what we thought of as a team to help alleviate that problem and move forward with the solution. If you're arrogant and you don't want to collaborate with anybody, I'm not hiring you. Because in that situation, you're gonna think you have to, I'm gonna do everything, everyone listen to me, and that's all that matters. I'm gonna go forward. Like, that's not okay. That's a good thing I look at, personality. Are you gonna fit in here? Because we're very quirky, we're nerdy, but we're also really smart. And we always wanna find a problem. We wanna fix the problems.
And be collaborative too.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then like if your portfolio looks like trash, bye.
That goes back to the eye.
Yeah.
If you've accumulated a designer's eye and you're like, you know what, I'm feeling this, but there's something wrong with this, and you're able to articulate, well, you just may make me agree. Cool. Well, thanks for the feedback. We're going to transition into merit mode now. Mark, I believe you're number one. So let's give a round of applause.
I just want to thank you all for coming today to see myself speak and my fellow classmates. It's a great honor, and I hope you will enjoy it. So I want to open up with a little background and kind of what brought me here today as a designer. So this is my family. I grew up, I was one of 5 kids, the 4 of 5 kids, that's me. And so my mom and dad got married, they had 5 kids, and quickly we kind of learned how to get things done as a group. So if you wanted to get something, you had to like play to each other's strong suits to convince your parents or whatever. So I quickly became, part of a team, and we used each other's strong suits to kind of win at the game. It was also kind of this fight or flight mentality, like if you didn't get the food on the table, you might just starve, so you got to kind of fight for it. But so my dad is still an engineer, my mom is an elementary school teacher, and I think unknowingly they formed me in ways that I only kind of can see now retrospectively. And really, I think it was this fundamental quality that I think every designer really needs to have, and that's curiosity. They taught me how to be curious, how to ask questions, how to figure out why things work the way they work, and just kind of understand the world in ways that I could put into my own terms. So kind of moving forward into me as a designer, I kind of want to also say I really haven't figured things out yet. I don't know exactly what design means to me. There are things that I still need to, we're all growing. I mean, I'm not going to stand up here and act like I'm an expert. But it kind of started with me at Summer Op. And in Summer Op, we really still hadn't gone into design yet. We were still learning, but it taught me that I could do the work. So as long as I had the work ethic, I could get it done. It taught me that I could do whatever design meant. And so going into first year, I kind of learned more and more what design was, and I kind of fell into this somewhat definition. And so for me, design is creating things which redefine the human experience with the world around us, and the things which allow us to grow as individuals. So it was redefining this human experience that I kind of further developed as a designer. So jumping into the first project I want to show you today. So this I wanted to highlight because it was really the first chance I got to prove myself as a designer, even a student designer, but a designer nonetheless. And it was also the first personal project I was able to approach. And so this was kind of came out of a prompt of discovering some sort of reliance that humanity has and trying to overcome that. So this is an air purifier and essential oil diffuser combo system. And so I really settled on this idea of we live in a culture of a quick fix, so it's easier to put a Band-Aid over a problem than it is to actually find the real issue. And so the problem that I wanted to discuss was daily allergy medication. So we're always prescribed more and more medication to fix our problems, but rarely do we ever really go to the core of what that problem is. And so for me, this took shape of, solving the air we breathe, that core problem, fixing the air we breathe to create healthier and happier lifestyles. And that's how I kind of approached this really wicked problem. So the air system is unique in that its whole purpose is to fade into the background. It's supposed to work while you don't have to. So it's supposed to clean your air so you can live a happier, healthier lifestyle. And this project was really the first time I was able to look into design as a way to change the world. And so through designing the product, I discovered that designers often have to be the ones to rip the Band-Aid off. So they have to be courageous. They have to be the ones to go looking in places that other people won't be willing to look. And they have to be able to rip that Band-Aid off to see what's underneath it. So the next project is a collaboration that we did with TTI and Ryobi Power Tools. So although this project didn't, change the world, it wasn't like this mass, lifestyle change. It taught me some very valuable lessons. The first of which is to trust myself as a designer, and to really push myself to apply Ryobi visual brand language to a product unlike they had ever designed before. So really, this trust came out of this struggle to perform the tasks that I needed to perform. So how do I create a product that Ryobi had never designed and make it look Ryobi? And so in that, I had to dig deep, I had to struggle, and I had to look and really force and push myself to come out the other end. And so like Desiree, I think, was talking about, really, falling into the depths and then getting back out of it through pushing yourself and through iteration. And it became a good opportunity to meld this engineering side given to me by my father with this really real ergonomic study of the form of the product. And so the final and the most important thing that this project taught me was that as a designer, you have to be able to adapt to issues. And you also have to treat your parameters like a blessing. I think we often think of parameters as hampering and restrictive, but when you think of them as something that forces you to grow and to dig deep, you can come out the other side as, a better designer than you would have otherwise. So adapt and dig deep. So the last project that I wanted to highlight was a collaboration that I did with Van Knight. So we decided to focus on, this is another open project, and we decided to focus on another wicked problem. And so the issue was absolute garbage. I mean, so the whole product was a trash can. So sorry, that was a bad joke. But so it was a trash system to reduce waste on an individual level. So our goal was to create a system that would help individuals make their individual impact on this great global problem. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why does a trash can need an app? It's kind of ridiculous. I agree. But what we found was that just a trash can alone, just the physical trash can, was not enough to change the actions of the individuals. So we needed to build a system around it. So just like looking in the mirror isn't always incentive enough to go to the gym, sometimes we need our smartwatches or our Fitbits to encourage us. That's the same kind of role the app plays. So it's that human interaction with the physical trash can that creates this change of behavior. So with this realization, we quickly discovered that the central theme of the project was to change behaviors to positively affect the world around us. And it became both a project of design and social marketing. So how do we create social change to address to address an issue that's usually out of sight, out of mind? So ultimately, that's what this project turned into. It became a study into the behaviors of individuals, their individual waste habits, which led us to the creation of the trash system. And it kind of became this understanding the behaviors first in order to create this design that we ultimately came about. And it was an issue that we deemed to be this huge issue that was insurmountable. It was literally snowballing when it comes to the amount of waste that we create as a culture. But we quickly found that by attacking it at an individual level, we were able to slowly chip away at this overall problem. So I want to thank you all for coming today. I also want to thank my Auburn industrial design professors. For those of you in the room, for those of you not, I think that I know I would not be in the place I would be without, or the place I am today without you all. I also want to thank my classmates. As Ben kind of was talking about, you're only as good as the people around you. So I really want to thank y'all for pushing me and for pushing each other to become, what we are today. So that's all I've got.
Cool. So my name is Jack Hawkins, and thank you so much for coming out. I'm very humbled to be up here next to these great designers and get to present my work and what I've learned here. And so first thing I want to do is talk about how this idea of human interaction is the heart of design. But first I want to give glory to God, because He's the one who makes known to me the path of life and my main motivation. So the first time I heard about industrial design was actually at a wedding, which is really the ultimate form of human interaction if you think about it. And so I knew that I always wanted to do something creative and people-centered, but someone told me about this cool stuff that people at Auburn were doing, and all these sketches and things like that. So I was curious and looked it up. So really, design starts with this idea of people and how they interact with their environment. And I found myself being this bridge in my life between different groups of people, and I found out that this major is something that does that. A designer is a person that puts on a lot of different hats and bridges the gap between a lot of different types of thinkers and people. So as this idea of people and environment, sometimes that interaction is pretty straightforward. I think of this as, think about like you see a tree and there's shade, and you get to sit under that tree. It's a pretty simple interaction. But sometimes that interaction is a little more complicated. Say there's an apple in the tree, use a stick to knock that apple down. And sometimes you want to use that tree as a resource to build something else, and that gets really complicated, and see there's a lot more going on there. But really most of the time life looks more like this. So it's restart, yikes, nope. Embracing your mistakes and embracing the idea that life is complicated. There's a lot going on in life that's not going to make a whole lot of sense, and I think designers are people that jump into that, aren't afraid to figure things out along the way. And so one thing I also found out really is that environment always includes other people. So you can see those little people there. That's something you can count on as you go forward, that your environment's always going to have other people, and that idea is central and really important. So another kind of byproduct of being in design school, something that I realized, is that you have a new appreciation for things in the world. So Baby Driver was one of my favorite movies last year. And do you have to be a designer to appreciate it? Absolutely not. But the work begs you to see the deeper thing that's going on, all the decisions that those people made to make that movie an experience. So if you haven't seen that, definitely go check that out. Another work of art is Zelda Breath of the Wild. I know Zach's a big fan of this. And so this game is extremely intricate. It has an incredible environment design and all these systems that work together. Just begs you to see all the hard work that went into that. And then another example, there's a music artist called Sleeping at Last, and he actually made songs based on the Enneagram types. And he actually did ethnographic research where he talked to people in his life that were those types, so that 1 to 9. And so that's the one for 2, and that's what I am on the 2. And he actually puts little fingerprints in the songs of people in his life that are that number. And taking that essence of who that person is and turning it into a different medium was something that really inspired me. So definitely go support Sleeping at Last and his efforts. So the main thing you need is people. And so I'm going to go through a couple things that I realized that I need in my life. So you need people, you need humility, you need honesty, you need teachability, and you need to make mistakes. Just like how my presentation is in this PDF format instead of being slides. And so I'm going to go through each of these and what I've learned through that. So I need people because design is not just for me. Design is inherently for other people, and I love that y'all touched on that. Design for yourself is more like a hobby, but design is always for other people, and you need people in your life to be able to talk to. I realize when I get stuck, a lot of times you just need to talk to a person that's going to be using the thing that you're making. So you need people in your life, not just for design and work, but for your life, just for people, community, bounce ideas off each other, have people that love you in your life and that you love them, and make those things known. And being in the real world means dealing with people, and that's messy work. And then, therefore, you need humility to deal with people, because thinking of yourself less often is good for you. So I think of a lot of times in design school where you're going to be humbled. I think of a lot of projects that are you're way in over your head on. But how important it is to not let your own pride drive you in that, but to be humble and be able to be corrected and be able to learn. And I'll touch more on that. But I'm going to go through just one of my favorite projects, just show a couple images from it. As a prosthetic cover, I got to work with an actual person in designing this plastic cover for them. And so there's Blake and his wife. I actually got to 3D print this cover and give it to him, and he tried it on, it worked, and that was one of the most satisfying things just as a designer, to get to work with a real person and see them interact with that thing that I made for them. And then I even went on to make the cover something that someone could customize through an app. But this part of it was only for Blake. So there's just a little flow you can see of the app prototype that I created. So something else, so I need honesty because of the soil which grows good things. And something I realized is the difference between hearing someone and listening to someone, and how impactful it is when you feel listened to. So we've all been there where we think that someone's just heard what we said but not really understood it, not really taken time to think about it. But I think good design and just good working with people comes from good listening. Not just hearing what they're saying, but listening where they're coming from. And so honesty to me produces stability, and nothing forges a friendship like that moment where you're like, oh, you too? You have that problem too, or you deal with that too? And that comes from honesty, and that produces that bond, that stability that's going to carry you through different things in life. And so another point to honesty. So this is one of my projects from Rusty's studio, and I was not a very good prototyper. My prototyping game was not very good before this project. I think about the clock project that the night before it screwed up. My paint messed up. It was really humid. I ended up painting the whole thing red instead of the two different colors like I wanted to, and it was kind of a disaster. And I got to sit down and talk to Rusty about it, and that pushed me to learn, and that mistake was huge. And then in Rusty's studio the next semester, I got to prototype something a lot bigger scale. So I lathed these bowls out of wood, which was something I'd never done before. And so here's a couple shots of that. Being honest also in your design, showing those things that are connecting the thing together, and being able to explain that, I think is very important. So the last thing is you need teachability, and I need teachability because I'll never stop learning and growing. So one thing I did not know how to do was ask the right questions. And so this was part of my projects about a medical device. And so we went through a survey process, and I was in charge of creating the survey with another student. And that's something I'd never done. And I had to learn how to do that, bounce ideas off of people. What I knew how to do was make it look okay once I had the research, making it look usable so it's something that other students could see and take in well. So that was something huge that I had to learn, was just being teachable and being able to pick up these things I'd never done. So there's the use of this medical device. There's one of my favorite pages that comes directly from the survey. The number one thing people not liking about medicine is remembering to take it. So I wanted to make something memorable and approachable for people. So here's a quote that I found, that the task of a modern educator is not to cut down jungles, but to irrigate deserts. And as professors in this major, I believe that you do a good job of that. And sometimes some deserts are drier than others, but y'all do a good job of finding that person where they're at and being able to mold them into a unique designer that the world's never seen before. That everyone has a different perspective, and y'all respect that.
Hi everyone, my name is Ada Dolan, and I'm a senior here in industrial design. And for any of you that don't know, to get into ID here, we go through a program called Summer Op, where we learn the basics of technical drawing, perspective, and marker rendering. And during one typically long all-nighter, I was rendering a betta fish. And it was about 5 a.m., 3 hours before class, and I was putting on the finishing touches when I decided I should practice my shorthand signature before I put it on the page. And so I ran through it 2 or 3, maybe 22 times, and I felt good about it, went to move the paper out of the way, and the pit of my stomach fell. I had done it down the side of my actual finished render product. I immediately started to experience the 5 stages of grief. I was in denial, no, I didn't do that, this isn't happening. Got really angry, said some things I can't repeat here today. Started bargaining with the people that were left in studio with me, offering to name my firstborn child after anyone who could fix what I had just done. In depression, I went outside and cried for a solid half hour. When I accepted what had happened, I realized I was faced with a choice. I could either stay sitting outside and wallow in my pity party, or I could get back inside and deal with the problem at hand. And I ended up just cutting off the edge of my paper and mounting the whole thing to a fresh sheet, and I was really satisfied with the finished product. But I was more satisfied because that intermittent mistake, that failure, would impact my thinking from then on. It taught me that no matter how bad a problem seems, there is always a workaround. And I was thankful to have learned this lesson by the time I got into fundamentals, because it was easy for it to feel like we were just drawing lines and boxes and making swervy wire sculptures, but these projects were teaching me lessons in composition, gesture, tension, and balance. And these skills created the foundation for which I built my understanding of design as a whole. But honestly, even more influential was the community of people surrounding me during this entire process. Together, we survived the trenches of summer op and came out on the other side with an appreciation for each other's talents and abilities. We learned how to critique one another with respect and how to take critique without ego. And this community really strengthened my skills, but more than that, they taught me that design is not about products. Design is about people. And I knew that as a designer, I wanted to use my skills to make people smile. That's why I teamed up with my friend and classmate Lee Hicks to design a line of dog toys. But we wanted them to do a little more than just be entertaining to the dog. When looking at the market, everything was cute and cuddly and cupcakes and chipmunks and kind of disgusting. So we took a different approach. We wanted to model our product after real people, noble leaders with unquestioned morals, the just miscongeniality of global politics and history. So we went with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. We made it so your dog could hilariously rip off the head of either party leader, because it wasn't our job to impose our own political beliefs on the project. It was our job to give the user freedom to let their dog maim whichever just well-liked individual that they so choose. But in all seriousness, this project made me realize how lucky I am to be able to make something like this. I won a world lottery. I was born in a free country where I am able to make a product that looks like our president and let my dog lick peanut butter out of his brain. Not only was I born into this freedom and into these civil rights, even more important, I was born into a family that really loves me. Growing up, they came to all my soccer games. I had 2 parents who were still together who cared if I did my homework. At the family dinner table, they'd always ask me about my day, even when I would frustratingly respond, "No, I did not learn anything new in school today." I don't take my circumstances for granted. I know how blessed I am to have grown up in this way. And so I wanted a project that would help people that maybe weren't quite as fortunate. To explain, I need a little bit of help. Ben Bush, can you remember the number 83 for me?
Okay.
Des, can you remember the number 25 for me? Okay. So, it's not shocking that our education system is broken. If a kid has trouble focusing, we jump to medication and turn them into zombies without addressing underlying issues. Kids are uninterested, overlooked, and hyper-focused on performance. I approached this problem by looking at what product was at the center of every kid's classroom experience. I redesigned the classic school desk so that kids could feel like it was made especially for them. They can choose the working position if they want to sit on the ground in a chair or stand up. They're free to draw on the top and expo markers because if they make a mistake or if they fail, they can just erase and try again. It combats that fundamental idea that mistakes in school are permanent. We need to encourage kids to fail because when they're free to fail, they're unafraid to try. And while all of these features is what made the desk special, when I prototyped it with these very, I want to say beautiful, these very ugly foam core prototypes, I was still leaning on my fundamentals like the delicious radii of the surface and the uplifting and upbeat gesture of the desk. And now I totally realize that a desk is not going to 100% solve the education problem in this country, but it's a place to start. But speaking of education problems, Ben, what was that number I asked you to remember?
83.
Des? 25. Congratulations, you just passed the American education system. So, drawing lines in boxes, making funny dog toys, and redesigning a desk all taught me different lessons in problem solving and gratitude. And they gave me the skills and confidence to reach for bigger dreams of mine. This is why after graduation, I'm applying to NASA for a research grant in women-owned small businesses with my friend and colleague, Justin Murphy. We're gonna be studying aeroponics and the effects of sound waves on plants. And this research is aimed at feeding large populations without putting unnecessary strain on our environment. It fulfills my passion and my desire to tackle large-scale problems we face as a society. As designers, all of our final solutions and all of our products are shaped by a series of choices. We can choose to be overwhelmed by unforeseen obstacles, or we can choose to take a breath and keep fighting. We can choose to ignore how overwhelmingly blessed we are, or we can choose to use our situation to better those of others. We can choose to design products, or we can choose to design for people. To quote astronomer, astrophysicist, and author Carl Sagan, it's better by far to face a hard truth than a reassuring fable. Modern science has been a voyage into the unknown with a lesson in humility at every stop. Our common sense intuitions can be mistaken. Our preferences don't count. We do not live in a privileged reference frame. If we crave some cosmic purpose, then let us find ourselves a worthy goal. Thank you.
All good, let's roll.
All right, so my name is Michael Bridgers, and this is How to Design for Others When You're Full of Yourself. So one of my favorite things about design is that everyone who comes here has a unique story about how they got here. As Chris Arnold has said before, we're like the island of misfit toys, where everyone comes from a place where they didn't really feel like they belonged. Design gives us that creative outlet that we've always desired, but most of the time when people go through design school and it gets about time to graduate, they don't really know what to do with design. I was a little different in that I found what I wanted to do before I ever found design. So finding what I wanted to do with my life came from this guy. This is Josh, and when I was 14, Josh helped me figure out who I wanted to be. I found out what I wanted to do at Josh's funeral. So I remember I'm sitting surrounded by Josh's friends and family, and I watch his mom walk in and sit down in front of me, and the look on the face of a mother who's having to bury her 16-year-old son, that's what stays with me, because in that moment of helplessness, all I can think is, how can I help you? So from that moment on, I know exactly what I want to do. I want to help people. So Josh and his family, his life and his death were my why, but now I needed a how. So going through high school, I'm still searching for a way to make that impact on people with my life. And my dad gives me this book, the Johnny Ive biography. He'd read it and he's like, I think you should look into this industrial design stuff. It really sounds like you. So I read the book and I'm completely sold. So I come to Auburn to pursue industrial design. And when I get here, I really find my element and realize that this is where I feel like I belong. So when I move into second year, I'm really focused on building my skills. Second year is where we build that foundation for ourselves as designers, and I want to be able to convey my ideas as clearly as possible. Because for our ideas to ever become reality, they have to be seen and understood by anyone, regardless of what they know about design. I want to be the best designer I can possibly be. And I'm focusing on building these essential tools that we need in order to create things that help people. And third year fall was my first opportunity to do just that. Rusty had given us this broad open prompt, which was essentially make the world a better place. Whether that be through sustainability, water purification, disaster prevention, anything like that, we're focusing on helping people. And I'm super excited because this is my first opportunity to use these skills to create something that actually makes an impact. So I make Therma. Now Therma is a gas tankless water heater with an integrated battery backup system as well as an integrated or removable power source with an integrated area light. The goal with Therma was to take a mundane household product and give it a new function in order to improve people's lives. So when your power goes out, you have hot water because of the integrated battery backup system. And with the removable power source, you can plug all your appliances and devices into it and use the area light to help maintain as normal of a life as possible. Now, by all means a traditional ID that I understood at the time, this is an awesome project. All the sketches are really good and they clearly convey all the different ideas that I have. All the modeling has all those little details that get the ideas across, and the renders look really good too. It has these awesome animations that just, if nothing else, they look really damn cool. And this form is beautiful, but I hate this project. Everyone tells me how great this is because it has all those ingredients that we're told make a good design project, but I hate it. Because at the end of the day, regardless of how good all those pieces are, this doesn't help anybody. I realized that I failed. I didn't know how to help people. So during this project, I'm applying for internships to try and satisfy that need that I want. And the one that I end up getting is the one that I least expect, with Johnson & Johnson. Now, I'm a little apprehensive at first because I don't really know anything about medical design. But I decided to go for it because, I mean, your mom knows what J&J is, so it'd be dumb not to, even if I can't show any of the work I do while I'm there. And when I get there, I get to work on biosurgicals and medication delivery. I get to work on projects that are damn near curing cancer. And then it dawns on me. Everything I'm doing is helping people. I'm using my skills for a positive purpose, and I'm making things that have a legitimate impact on people's lives. This is how I want to use my skills to actually make that impact on people that I've been searching for, through medical design. So when I get back to Auburn, I'm really excited, because I finally have that outlet for my skills. I finally know what I want to do. But I've been kind of sitting on something for a while. Typically for our projects in school, we choose what we want to do. But this was a project that chose me. This project's about my older brother. So that's me in front of the cake, and this guy next to me is my older brother, Daniel. Now, in the summer of 2015, we had to rush Daniel to the hospital because he had overdosed on heroin. And sitting in the hospital waiting room, holding my crying mom, trying to pretend that everything was okay when I didn't know if I was gonna leave that night with or without my brother. I knew I had to do something. So over the next 3 years while I'm helping my brother with his recovery, I'm researching every possible way that I can make a difference. And while I'm at J&J, I have an idea of a way that I could use product design to make that difference. So in the summer before my 4th year fall, I sit down and talk to Ben Bush about my idea. Now, Ben kind of becomes my mentor moving forward, and he's ultimately the one who really encourages me to finally face the music and do this project, because this is important. So that's how Light starts. Now, Light is a modular wearable system designed specifically for people in addiction recovery. It tracks the withdrawal symptoms in the patient and keeps the person's caregivers, sponsors, and doctors constantly connected and updated about those withdrawal symptoms in order to create a more individualized recovery experience and drastically increase the likelihood of recovery. This project started with a huge journey map where I laid out all of the research and insights that I'd learned over the last 3 years with my brother in order to create an intelligent system that fits into people's lives as seamlessly as possible, making something that actually helps them recover, not something that just looks cool. It still had all those pieces that made Therma seem great. Like, all the sketches are still really good, and they're some of the best that I've done. All the modeling is really detailed and well thought out, and the renders still look really good. It still has all that eye candy that designers love to see and show off, but this project actually addresses a real issue. This creates a system that excites people in the recovery community, because at the end of the day, this isn't a project for designers. This is a project for people who are in recovery, or who have family in recovery, or who have lost loved ones to addiction and don't want to see that same fate for someone else. Light is the culmination of all the skills and knowledge that I've learned over the last 3 years. And this is a project that I'm truly proud of. It isn't the sexiest thing in the world. I mean, it's just a rectangle. But it creates a possible solution for a real problem. This is what design is about to me. This was the project that told me, I can do this. I can really make things that make a difference. And that's what I've been chasing all along. So through my time here at Auburn, the amazing professors and the amazing classmates that I'm surrounded with have shown me that we have everything to give. We as designers can address and solve problems in such a way that other people never thought was possible. We bring complex ideas to life, and we can use these amazing skills that we've built to make our dent in the universe, or at least nudge it in the right direction. I want to create things that help people, things that make people's lives better. And the amazing people here have made me realize that we can, together, because we have everything to give. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jonathan Walden, and today I want to talk to you all about designing experiences. So growing up, I was full of creative energy, and I was always drawing, playing music, and writing stories that never made it anywhere past my own notebooks. And with every song and story that I wrote, and every drawing that I made, I was always trying to create a unique experience. And creating experiences is really what has driven my development as a designer here at Auburn. And when I began my college career at Georgia State, I didn't know what to do with my creative energy. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. Until I came to Auburn and discovered industrial design, a field that gave me the ability to apply my creative energy to something meaningful. And during my time in this program, I've been a part of many projects that have taught me valuable lessons about design and in which I've been able to create unique experiences. And I'd like to share two of these projects with you today. The first is Array. Array is a concept for an all-in-one pour-over coffee station. And the brief for this project was to redesign a pour-over coffee maker with the goal of creating a unique experience. And after analyzing this project, I discovered that the making of pour-over coffee involves more than just one product. It is made up of many products, including a grinder, kettle, dripper, and scale. And I also discovered that the making of pour-over coffee is a ritualistic and cohesive experience that involves many precise steps. And yet, this cohesive process is made up of many individual products that are designed eclectically. And so the idea became, how can these products be designed together as a system that is as cohesive as the actions they serve? And in concept development, I explored many different ideas for combining these products. And the concept I believe to be most successful involved integrating all of the products together into a single system. And the refined solution for this concept is an all-in-one station that is built upon the foundation of the dripper and stand. The placement of each product along this station is driven by the action it serves to elevate the experience of making pour-over coffee. Everything has a purpose and interacts with each other cohesively. And this project taught me about creating experiences through connecting and balancing multiple variables. But I didn't utilize empathy in this project because I was more or less designing something that I wanted to use. Which brings me to my next project, which is Scout, an assistive device that aids mobility for people who are blind. This is a personal project that is also a continuation of a project that I did in collaboration with Georgia Tech. A student team of electrical engineers came to us with a prototype that utilized 6 infrared sensors and bone conduction headphones. The sensors detected nearby obstacles and sent feedback to alert the user through bone conduction headphones with binaural audio. And all of this was meant to help people who are blind to better navigate their surroundings. And while the technology worked successfully, it had a negative user experience, which is what we were tasked to improve. And during the semester, my team was able to design a solution that utilized the technology while also being more compact to create a greater user experience. But after the semester, I wanted to explore this problem further, and I wanted this product to be something that users would be comfortable with wearing in public. So I became inspired by lifestyle products and technology that integrates comfortable and familiar materials such as fabric into their design. And I believe that this aesthetic direction would make Scout seem more like a lifestyle product and less like an assistive device. And I also explored concepts that could be placed on multiple areas of the body, and this exploration was meant to discover which location would be most acceptable for Scout to be worn. And I believe that the neck is the most appropriate position to place this device because it is commonly associated with wearing lifestyle products. And I then created quick mock-ups to test this idea. And through iteration, I began to shrink this concept to a comfortable size. And I also made the prototypes at full scale so that I could wear them for myself, because I believe that the best way to design for an experience is to replicate that experience for yourself and let that influence the design. So my new design challenged the internal components that were originally designed on an entirely rigid PCB. And the new prototype required the internals to be made on a flexible rigid PCB that would fit within Scout's form to achieve the level of comfort that I was aiming for. And I concealed the infrared sensors beneath darkened but transparent covers so that they would be more discreet. And I also wanted the interface to have entirely tactile navigation. And so I designed the buttons to be large with a contrast in shape and material finish so that they would be easily recognizable to someone who is blind. The face of the buttons also contain Braille so that the user can read the interface in a sense that is familiar to them. Now to the left of the device is the Bluetooth pairing button that allows Scout to be wirelessly paired to any set of wireless bone conduction headphones. And I wanted to eliminate any wires that existed on previous prototypes so that Scout could be more comfortable for users to wear. And this project taught me how to design for a problem that I've never known. And it was humbling to be able to design for an experience that could change someone's life. And as I move forward and begin my career, I aspire to continue designing experiences that benefit people's lives and solve complex problems. Because I believe that as designers, we have the unique ability to give people a greater experience of life. And when we truly deliver on these experiences, design becomes more than a pretty sketch or a model. It becomes a force for change. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Danny Tran. It's an honor to have been selected as a candidate for the Student Merit Award. Throughout the making of this presentation, I asked myself, why am I here? Why do I design, and what does design mean to me? To answer these questions, I needed to reflect on what defines me. I'm from a small town called Athens, Alabama, about 3 hours up north from Auburn. Growing up, I loved math and testing my problem-solving skills to get the exact answer. I had a passion for art and learning all the various styles that came with it, from sketching to illustration to hyperrealism and so on. But I also didn't really have much confidence in my skill sets. I was timid. Yet I seemed to always strive for perfection. It was an interesting dichotomy. So after graduating high school, I didn't have a set major in mind when entering into college. However, I knew that I wanted to help people through my art and inspire them. I thought about entering into graphic design or engineering, but I was looking for something that could satisfy me in both art and math. Out of chance, my high school art teacher recommended to me that I should try going into industrial design because it seemed to be the major that fit what I was looking for. So out of curiosity and a leap of faith, I changed my major from mechanical engineering to industrial design here at Auburn University. Before entering into the professional design world, I had to take the summer out program just like everyone else that came to Auburn for this major. I learned the essentials to industrial design. I learned about orthographies, two-point perspective theory, and rendering. I believe my skill sets really improved by taking this program. But the most important lesson from this experience is that it helped me push through my boundaries and do the most in spite of the lack of confidence in my work. I was navigating the high-stress, performance-based environment with my perfectionist attitude, and in turn, this did give me a lot of sleepless nights because I was revising my drawings until they were up to my standards for submission. And at the end of that physically exhausting and mentally stretching summer, I had delivered the absolute best effort that I could. The recognition of that effort by the professors when they ranked me first in the incoming class was a high praise that helped me to come out of this experience more confident in my abilities than when I came in. Moving on, I took the determination in stride, and in junior year, second semester, I created the clutch in my sponsor studio with TTI Ryobi. The clutch is an independent light attachment that allows users to have both hands free while working on a ladder, or in narrow or dark areas, or even as a regular light stand. The device is compact and versatile, giving the user a wide range of lighting. I made a variety of sketches, moved into modeling, and learned more about SOLIDWORKS than I had any other year. This slowly built my confidence as a designer because with 3D modeling, I was actually getting closer to making something tangible. But looking at the project now, I feel as though I missed a mark in accomplishing what I wanted to do. In my eyes, I had more to offer to this design, I wanted to understand the mechanics, the technology, the engineering side of this concept, because I see the utter value in designing concepts, even in school, that are functional, possible, and effective. And on to the first semester of senior year, I had the opportunity to work on something that I felt had a more humanitarian purpose behind it. I worked with CSP Technologies to develop a medical dispenser for prescribed oral thin film strips. These strips were meant to give users an alternative way of taking medication if they had trouble with swallowing pills. So the challenge was to limit the users from taking more than the prescribed dosage and overdosing, which led me to design the cassette. The unique function of the cassette is that it stores the excess waste into the device as the film dispenses out using a cassette-like mechanism. I was proud of this design, and I wanted to make it work efficiently. So I spent countless hours building up the CAD model to reach manufacturability in form and function. I made sketches, foam models, and 3D printed prototypes and tested it, but I was unable to make a functioning prototype. I was so close. If I were able to work collaboratively with a mechanical engineer on later iterations of this project, I would love to make it fully functioning and iron out all the manufacturing and technical details that I couldn't get to within the time frame of this project. Up until this point in my career, I have created things based on a brief or circumstance crafted and restricted for me as by a sponsor or professor. This semester, however, I found the opportunity to design something that is based on my own criteria, desires, and goals. I get to create a timeline and structure to my work that allows me to design a fully functioning product, something that's eluded me in my past few projects. A professor this semester, Tin Man, insisted that we created a piece of furniture for ourselves and embody our culture into the design and pass it down from generation to generation. For the first time in a while, I had a surge of motivation and I felt confident that I could achieve this. I get to actually create a finished product that works for its design purpose. So my challenge is a chair, but then so much more than that. I want to make a chair, not just for me, but for my family as well. Even though I haven't finished this product, it feels special. It's personal. And I am thrilled to see where the design of this heirloom piece takes me, both within the exploration of my design skill set and of my Vietnamese heritage and self. Regardless of what the end product is, I will continue to strive for perfection in every detail, designing for elegant functionality and projects that speak to my heart and passion for truly good design. So finally, thank you everyone. Thanks for believing in me and giving me the confidence today to be up here. Through crafting this presentation and the introspection it took, as well as the critical look at things I created over the past 3 years, I have a better understanding of what being a designer means to me, which is that I want to create. I want to create for people, but with that too, I want to consistently achieve results that satisfy the passion in me for getting as close to perfection as I can, and then do it all over again. Accept and acknowledge your achievements and shortcomings, and then do even better next time. Thank you.